Broca's and Wernicke's aphasias. This video was made by Kenneth Chang, Duke Ho, Caleb Larson, Ryan Lawhorn, Ramier, and Tejinder Randava. Aphasia is a communication disorder that results from damage to the parts of the brain that contain language, typically in the left half of the brain. It may be expressive or receptive depending on the area of brain damage. For example, Broca's aphasia and Wernicke's aphasias are due to damage to different areas of the brain. Symptoms may include neologisms, hesitations, word substitutions, and difficulty reading or writing. Broca's area is located at the inferior frontal gyrus, which is at the inferior portion of the frontal and parietal lobes. For this reason, it is sometimes referred to as the frontotemporal parietal region, and it is unique to the dominant hemisphere, and it's also known as Brodmann's areas 44 and 45. Broca's areas connects with the Wernicke's area via the arcuate fasciculus, which you see here. Broca's area is also located near the motor areas for speech, for the lips, tongue, and jaw. The function of Broca's area is to coordinate syntax and semantics for spoken language. It also functions in the generation of written language. Broca's aphasia is also called non-fluent motor or expressive aphasia. It is due to a lesion in the dominant hemisphere at Brodmann's areas 44 and 45. There is a problem with language production. Writing is also impaired. When speaking, there is an impaired verbal output, the speech isn't fluent, there are short sentences leaving out abstract words, and there's phonemic paraphasia, which is sound substitution. For example, the patient will say pan instead of man. Finally, naming is always impaired, which is known as anomia, and you cannot have an aphasia without a naming deficit. In contrast, Wernicke's aphasia is located in the temporal region of the cerebral cortex, which is the dominant hemisphere, and the posterior part of the superior and middle temporal gyri. It is also classified as Brodmann's 22. Wernicke's area is a speech area vital to language development. It is for understanding of both written and spoken language. It is for comprehension versus production. It is also receptive to various sensory inputs and gives them meaning. Anatomically, it is near other posterior association cortices, such as somatic, auditory, and visual senses. So here you have Wernicke's area near visual cortex, the auditory cortex, and the motor area, and connecting with the Broca's area. Wernicke's aphasia is also known as receptive aphasia. It is a lesion in the dominant hemisphere at Brodmann's 22. There is a problem in understanding both written and spoken language. Naming is also a problem. And the patients do not recognize the problem in their speech and comprehension. When speaking, patients sound normal. Their grammar, syntax, rate, and intonation are correct. Their phonology is intact, their prosody is intact, and their sound is fluent. However, they sound fast and lengthy, almost like a rant. They sound inconsistent and random, so they do not comprehend what is spoken to them or what they are reading. They fail to answer questions correctly, have meaningless sentences, and their speech is loaded up with made-up words. Also, patients display paraphasic errors. So Wernicke's aphasia patients will substitute words or parts of words. They sound like they're mixing their words, so they may say bife for knife, and they have impaired repetition. They are likely to ignore a request for repeating a sentence. So here is a summary of Broca's versus Wernicke's aphasias. Broca's aphasia is located near the motor cortices in the anterior region of the brain, while Wernicke's aphasia is located near the sensory cortices in the posterior region of the brain. Broca's aphasia is due to an expressive and motor dysfunction, while Wernicke's aphasia is due to a receptive and sensory dysfunction. Broca's symptoms is a broken speech. And Wernicke's symptoms is a problem with what you are trying to say. And these are examples of what they may sound like.